a digital trust and identity company, and former founder of CEO of Kartuku, a pioneering payment gateway in Indonesia. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Niki Luhur. I hand the floor to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, distinguished guests. Thank you very much for coming here to such an exciting day. I'd like to first, of course, welcome. We have an extremely exciting panel today with really the leadership of our policymakers in Indonesia who can really share some amazing insights about our strategy for financial inclusion. So first, I would like to welcome on stage Ibu Sri Mulyani Indrawati, Minister of Finance for the Republic of Indonesia. Next, I would like to invite Bapak Peri Warjiyo, Governor of Bank Indonesia. And of course, Pak Wimboh Santoso, Chairman of Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, our Financial Services Authority. It's truly a rare opportunity to have such amazing leadership here. Thank you, Bapak and Ibu, for being able to spend your time with us today. The theme of Indonesia Fintech Summit 2019 is Innovation for Inclusion. This is a continuation of last year's momentous launch of the Bali Fintech Agenda at the IMF World Bank annual meetings in Bali. It's been almost a year since the Bali Fintech Agenda session, where President Jokowi provided direction towards two key principles, light touch and safe harbor. To quote President Jokowi, light touch is a relaxed and welcoming regulatory environment which prevents excessive government interference too early in the process of innovation. Safe harbor is to give innovators the confidence to experiment without having to fear civil or criminal liabilities if their experiments fail. Innovation is here, and I believe we're all aligned in our commitment towards innovation for inclusion. Ibu Sri Mulyani, how do we best manage these changes? Are we prepared to accept the transition costs? How do we ensure that there is a level playing field?
First of all, I would like to welcome all of you who come to this important seminar. In responding to your question, how the government is preparing for this change, and especially what has been mentioned by Pak Menteri Koordinator Bidang Perekonomian, that how we are going to penetrate more so that people have the access of safe and secure financial services, both in terms of access as well as account. The government of Indonesia is actually responding or preparing through many different states of intervention. The one which is on the upstream level is how we are going to make sure that the development in Indonesia will continue. The momentum of growth is not going to be disrupted. Stability and growth can be continued, secure during this very challenging global environment. The second one, we want to make sure that when we are making progress, it is inclusive enough. And that's why we are not just aiming for growth, but we are also aiming for reduction on poverty, creating more equality. And that has been actually supported by the achievement in the past 5 years, when the growth can be maintained continuously above 5%, and the poverty also steadily reduced, now in a single digit, and inequality is also being reduced quite consistently. The third one, we want to make sure that Indonesia, as a big country, both in terms of population and geography, it is not discriminating in terms of the ability to use this financial technology or digital technology to leapfrog the prosperity of the people. That's why, in order to make sure that we are going to be able to create a better equality of access on this industrial revolution, the government investing very heavily on the infrastructure. Because you are now in Jakarta, maybe you are not complaining anything about access, but you are stepped out from Jakarta, even still within Java Island, you still have some area which is not well served from accessing this digital technology. Not to mention many other islands outside Java. So spending of the government on the infrastructure is becoming very important. This is maybe not directly impacted, but definitely become necessary condition for the preparation of the people as well as the nation and the economy to be able to take the advantage of this technology and fintech that can be accessible for all people. So road, port, airport, as well as the satellite and access on the internet, it is now hopefully is going to be completed by this year with all the finalizing of the Palapa ring, and now we are going to also launch a satellite. So all this necessary condition on the infrastructure. How about the second necessary condition that is also equally important, that is human capital. The government is also spending most of our budget to make sure that education and especially also vocational training is going to be provided more for the people of Indonesia. Currently, within the current budget as well as the next budget 2020, education is among the biggest spending for government of Indonesia. This is not only for the general education but also for vocational and higher education. In addition to that, we also provide additional intervention that is going to prepare more, not only desk labor but also company to be able to train for this digital economy. So these are all what we call it the government preparation on the necessary condition to be able to take the advantage of digital economy, including fintechs. Now, on what you just mentioned earlier on the light touch thing, the government of Indonesia is, especially on the Ministry of Finance, we continuously creating a dialogue with the industry about what kind of taxation regime that is going to be seen as a fair taxation, both across player, digital and non-digital, and between Indonesia and the rest of the world. Because this is one of the area in which the border of the country is becoming less relevant. Many transactions is becoming borderless, and that's why the discussion about how you are going to design a policy which is becoming globalized and borderless can be still continue perceived as fair and creating level playing field. So maybe I'll stop here. I can continue until 1 hour, but then I know that we are going to have another panelist. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Pak Perry, we'd love to hear your views.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
How do you view balancing prudential regulations and safeguards while allowing for innovation to drive inclusion? Is open banking a solution?
Well, I think this is one of the solutions. But let me tell you this. Bank Indonesia is very commitment to use digital payment system to facilitate the financial inclusion. Let me tell you what we have been done and what will be going to the future, including answering your question. So far, we already do the electronification to about 15.6 million family of the social program, which is about 45 million people. That we are doing electronification, transferring the social program of Ibu Sri Mulyani through a mode of electronification. That's the financial inclusion. We already doing electronification of transportation mode, and we are doing electronification of transaction of the government, both the central and local government. This will be the backbone of the financial inclusion and innovation of digital. And how we go about to the future? I think we will use our payment system to integrate between the digital economy and finance, end-to-end process. From the banking, from the fintech, from the e-commerce, to the society and back to the central bank to ensure the proper functioning of money circulation, monetary stability, and financial stability. Second, answer your question. Digital banking. I think Pak Wimboh say about 80 banks already digitalized. But of those 80 banks, between 15 and 20 banks already expanding their services through the open banking. Any form of open banking. On the funding, on the financing. This is the open API. Through the open banking, will be making the banking still the core of the whole process of digital economy and finance. Third, we talked before with you, Nikki, how to interlink between fintech and digital banking. We do not want Indonesia to create shadow banking. That's why through the open API, engagement between fintech and open banking, that's actually we flourish not only the open banking, but also the fintech. This is where interlink between fintech and digital banking becoming the future through a number of collaboration, whether standard contract of the open API or standard of the code of open API by itself. The fourth, I think this is where we have to balance between innovation and digital economy and finance with the stability. We already changed our approach of sandbox from regulatory sandbox into development. That's why we are joining with you to create this very successful Indonesia Summit and Expo. This is the innovation that we want to flourish Indonesia through development of any form of financial services and e-commerce, but still protecting the customer consent, protecting the anti-money laundering, protecting also the cyber, as well as working with Pak Wimboh on how to regulate those aspects, which is the balance between innovation and stability and regulation. Last but not the least, answering to Ibu Sri Mulyani, how to still put the national interest in the cross-border payment system and digital economic and finance. This is where all of domestic transaction must be rooted in the domestic. Cross-border, we will go, collaboration with a number of central bank, other authorities, how to foster the cross-border cooperation. I think our latest innovation that we launched recently, which is QR Indonesian standard, that we launched in 17th of August. I think it's one example where actually innovation, stability, national interest, and cross-border is linking together. Because in our QR Indonesian standard, this is the global standard, EMV code standard. But already in the code of QRIs, differentiate between domestic transaction and cross-border. That we flourish not only the inclusion in the e-commerce, fintech with you, digital banking, the whole process that we will engage in the future. We are in the process of collaborating with other authorities, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and India, where our QR is already compatible with them, and then we will cross-border. We are in the process now, Nikki, to reform our retail payment. SKNBE, clearing national, which is still the traders, we will reform within the next 2 years, will be real-time retail payment. We will BE fast payment, which is also compatible with other emerging markets. We will also make a cross-border with them. Last but not least, of course, we will need to talk about the data, how to develop the public infrastructure data. We can be shared to anybody and all of the fintech development, but still data privacy, localization and so on. That will be how to use the cloud computing and so on. So many innovation. Bank Indonesia once again committed to foster financial inclusion throughout the payment system, working with the government, working with the OJK, and working with you and all of us, that digital economy and finance will the future of Indonesia, will the future of financial inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Benny. Very interesting topics, especially about the very end about data privacy, but we'll come to that probably as the last topic. There was a lot of discussion about the digital economy, about e-commerce, about fintechs, fintech agents, and a lot of new jobs, a lot of new business models. Wimboh, what is OJK's philosophy and regulatory strategy regarding digital financial services in this new ecosystem?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you Pak Niki, Honorable Coordinating Minister, Pak Tamin, Mulyani, and also the Indonesia. And here we have Pak Tiraman Munaf and everybody here. We have a lot of millennial. Yeah, good morning. Yeah. So actually, if we talk about the technology, no doubt that the benefit is there. We never discuss how to optimize the presence of technology for the development of economy and also for the people. You see now we really save a lot of time, save a lot of money, using technology to buy food, to call taxi, anything. And for the financial industry, especially the bank, they can really get the benefit of efficiency in the cost. No more open a new branch, no more hire a lot of people that used to be, and then now they can, Pak Charmaine, I can inform that the margin of lending is getting lower and lower. Getting low. Now the total is below 5%. Used to be more than 5%, 5.5, 5.7. Pak Charmaine, do you remember how to reduce the margin was really your agenda when you were the governor of Indonesia. So, but now Pak Charmaine, I can report the margin is below 5 because they can substitute the rate not from the interest of lending, but from the fees. I think there is no doubt about this issue. Then also the public, they can get benefit, Now they can transfer the money to the kids, without going to the bank. Anytime, 24 hours. And then the fee is very cheap, just around 5,000 rupees. And then if you have to travel, by bus or probably more. So I think I'm not going to discuss the benefit. No doubt that we, everybody here, I believe, agree to support the application of technology in any way in our life. And then, of course, the financial is the one. But going forward, I believe that will be implemented everywhere. As like I just went to Pak Tiraman Munaf about the cooperation. Even we can play this technology for the cooperation in Indonesia and also for the fishery everywhere. So, but I would like also to note about, on top of the benefit, how about the risk? A lot, I believe. Then, how can we make sure, especially on a lot of discussion on the P2P lending, that the lender, they know exactly who the borrower will be. And then somebody in Wonogiri, for instance, just offered to borrow 10 million rupees, and then without any due diligence. Then actually the lender just trust it using internet. And then how come that this person, the borrower, will exactly keep the promise to repay the loan? This kind of situation. Then since the ethical code is there from the lender and the borrower, I believe that would be, the risk will be minimized. I think then how that we can create ecosystem is very important to help due diligence on the board. I think not only about the P2P lending, anything on the using technology must be supported by the ecosystem. So I believe we, with the association, will come up with some of the agreement. Actually, we ask the association to identify who are the member of the fintech provider, and then to come up with the an ethical code. The objective is really to protect the customer. So, and then the OJK rule is really very important here because we, by law, given a mandate really to protect the customer. Then education is very important, literacy is very important to make sure that the borrower and the lender, they have the same understanding about the product. Yeah. Then again, I would like just put some list, the ecosystem that we have and we need to develop. One is to enlarge the benefits, the coverage of the telecommunication is very important. Without those things, I think we are able to reach the rural area very easily. We see that a lot of areas that have been covered by the telecommunication already. The second, the ethical code that I mentioned before. The ethical is not only the fintech provider, but also even the borrower, the customer. Yeah. Again, we have a few evidence. One customer, they apply 20 times in one night to borrow money from different provider. How come? Then we have to educate the people. Looks, they have to be mindful about the capability to repay. Then again, actually the ethical code is not only for the provider, but also again for the borrower as well. Then customer protection is very important. How to make sure the market conduct in place. Then OJK will stand behind this to make sure that everybody, the customer and also the lender, they really follow the market conduct. That actually we have a guideline on this. Yeah. Then also the data protection is very important as Pak Peri mentioned, because now actually the data protection, the issue is only belong to the owner of the data. Since the owner of the data doesn't have any complaint. But I believe that actually there will be some, discussion on how really to create some of the strong legal framework about the data protection to make sure that everybody will follow, the rule. And that cyber security is very important, that Pak Peri mentioned as well. And then also, the most very important thing is also the managing the transition, because if we let it through very quickly, I think a lot of the incumbent will not ready. Then how to manage the transaction is very not only the banks, but also the non-bank financial institution and also e-commerce through Mulyani. I think that's very important. So if we have this ecosystem ready, I believe the benefit will be optimal and the risk will be managed by very properly. Thank you very much.
I think in all three of your speeches, we heard a lot about data protection, about consumer protection, and how do we handle this better? How do we maintain trust? How do we improve the integrity of our interactions? Could you elaborate further? What can we do as a community to build better personal data protection and consumer protection?
Well, when we talk about digital economy and finance, about digital, three things always come to my mind: code, data, as well as how balancing, as you answered, innovation and public interest. I think these three things. Data is also the same thing. Data is new oil. How can the data still be used? But balancing between public data, privacy, as well as using those holding. I'm searching around the globe. Whether one choice, data is purely private. Just let the private, mobilizing, owning, and using those granular data. Or some data need to be built by public, government, central bank, OJK. India example. or Chinese exchange. Indonesia, I think that's the thing that we can learn from India. Some data through Amhar, there should be the public data. The need for building public data infrastructure hub, where building the e-data, customer consent, and then can be used by industry. But some of the data can be generated by private for the innovation. 5G data, I think, can be used as in the public infrastructure data. Name, date of birth. Just customer protection, AML, CAT, things that should be using customer consent can still be used. While some of the data, then some of the private companies can generate this. I think India model, my personal view, I think more proper to be developed in Indonesia. Bank Indonesia, I think we are also in the process of gathering of this some of the public data, because with the government, with our electronic social program, we already using an a single identity number, and then this will be, can be used to be targeted the social program through this election. This can be also be developed and then be enlarged. So my question, we need to build some kind of public infrastructure data for some of the key data, and then also letting some of the private to enlarge on it. I think that's one of the things that we have to develop.
Vicky, maybe I will add for that. I think the discussion about data and information within this digital economy has become the core issue that is not yet settled even at the global level. So for Indonesia, we have to make sure that there is really an understanding of the people that your data is actually very valuable. Those kind of education to the people is very needed. The second one is the governance. In the past, we know that in order for you to collect the data, that's even have to be regulated through a law. Like Central Bureau of Statistics is the only institution which is allowed to collect data on a statistic in Indonesia. But in the digital technology, every day, every hour, every minute, every second, actually the data is being collected even without knowing from the people who produce this data. So the technology is changing very dramatically the ability to collect data with or without consent. That is maybe the most important of this digital technology that is changing the way the collection of data. So now the question is about how you are going to make sure that the governance of the data management, data collection, data use, and the data security need to be established. I think within that context, Indonesia need to have this kind of regulatory framework, whether in the form of undang-undang, that is law, or peraturan pemerintah. We already know that the government is already have, for example, law number 11/2008 on information and electronic transaction. But in terms of whether that providing a very robust security and safety of the data, we really need to work even more in a detail. And that's why I think the question about this data privacy and how the governance of the data is going to be the continued discussion, as well as what we call it ecosystem that need to be continued prepared and built by the government of Indonesia.
Thank you, Paniki. Actually, everybody agrees that the individual data information must be protected. I believe nobody will question about this. Yeah. But now that the law that spell out clearly the data protection for individual information is only in the banking law. That is just for the banking customer data. Then also insurance company as well, and also capital market. Taxation, sorry. Taxation. Only those areas that been spelled out clearly by the rest is unclear. So if it is unclear, of course, the authority is fall to the individual. If individual okay, those data will be circulated, then actually no problem. So the complaint is normally the customer or individual unaware that his information has been circulated to somewhere else without permission. And then of course legally those individuals should complain, to the court that looks my data has been circulated without my permission. It is just a fault of the individual rights law. So that is the available of the legal framework. But there is no legal or undang-undang who really protect the individual information. On top of it is the bank customer, insurance customer, tax, and also capital market customer. So that is the really the absence of the legal framework for the data protection in Indonesia. I believe if somebody has to the court and then complaining that his information has been circulated illegally, I think it's too complicated. But if it is law that mentions the individual data in any way not law to be circulated, then that somebody violate the law, then actually automatically the government can challenge those person. So that is the absence of legal framework in Indonesia. I believe if we talk with some of the stakeholders, they agree that should be spelled out in the law clearly for the individual data protection. So now actually we just encourage and also encourage this person actually circulating data information is not acceptable in the ethical. So and then but if we ask individually, everybody agree that should be protected. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could kindly give a round of applause for... We'd all love to be here for another hour if we could, but I know Bapak and Ibu have a very busy schedule today, so thank you very much, Ibu. Bapak.
Thank you very much. Please remain on stage to our speakers and moderator. We will continue with the official opening ceremony of Indonesia Fintech